Hi, welcome to the Commercial Gas Engineer channel. Just a week in the life of a commercial gas engineer. The week started with a visit to the Science Museum. So I was there looking at all sorts from the history of like gas-fired water heaters, Ascot sink water heaters, and just a bit of background from when it started out. Do have a visit. You do have to book a spot in order to go to the Science Museum, but you can it's free, and there's spaces. So do check it out. It's interesting seeing the history of some of these water heaters from when they started out. Gas heated bath from 1871. Central heating. House dead gas central heating boiler 1995. We've got some gas fires. Some old radiators. Nocturne portable gas fire. Parkinson portable gas fire. Some of you may remember some of these units. Some are still around even to this day. Which is quite an interesting setup with the WC. It was quite popular in the museum. Everybody wanted to give it a good flush. Valve water closet 1880. Plunger type. Washout water closet 1870. Speedwell flushing system 1920. House drainage model 1900. A day at work, carrying out some tests on these Clyde combustion boilers. Had problems with these. There were two units. One of the units had a faulty gas valve because power was going to the gas valve, but it wasn't allowing the gas through. So I was lighting the pilot, but it wasn't going to full burner because the gas valve wasn't opening up. Had the gauge on and could see that the pressure wasn't dropping. Also, another problem we had on the other burner, because there's two burners, was that you had to light the ignition manually because the spark wasn't effective. It wasn't lighting. In another scenario, there was a unit where at the meter the working pressure was good, but at the appliance the working pressure wasn't so good. But then when I checked at the second appliance in the building, the working pressure was good. So found that it was likely to be a blockage on the supply going to one of the gas appliances. Then whilst you're carrying out your work, sometimes you come across combustion in the wrong places. So you can see it. This fire is clearly not where it should be. So I was thinking whether I should put at risk or immediately dangerous, but I was more steering in the end there of immediately dangerous because we have to safeguard life and property. Thankfully, the fire brigade were nearby and they just put this out. So tell me, what kind of fire extinguisher would you use on this, or would you even attempt to use a fire extinguisher on this? Because obviously one or two fire extinguishers are not going to put this fire out. But what extinguisher would you use if you had to in the initial stage of this fire starting up? Because there were a lot of fire extinguishers available, but thankfully none of them were used, and the fire brigade turned up and put the fire out swiftly. Then I had some other models here that needed to be washed down and cleaned. Some ideal Concords. Sometimes in some of these plant rooms it's not easy to find water, so it's good to have some water on hand. Normally there is somewhere where you can tap in. And I was just filling in my worksheet, as you can see here, just going through it step by step. Do send me an email if you need one. I'll get one over to you. And if you do have one already, let me know how it's going, how you're finding it, and what you would change or what you've already changed, because they are amendable. The ones that I've sent out, you can make tweaks to it. Okay, inside the unit, thankfully the insulation was still intact. It was good in this model. And then looking up, wasn't too dirty, but still gave it a little brush down. On this particular model, it does go in high and low, but there didn't appear to be any way on this CXSD to force it into high and low. So you have to wait for it to go into high and low in order to check your burner pressures. This is just a picture of the site, the drawings and so on of where things are on the site. It's always good to have a quick look at these when you touch down on site. Sometimes some things have been modified, but it is good to see what's happening, sizes and so on, or where the gas meter is located. Over here you have the symbols, and then also some asbestos signs, so do not disturb these. On this particular model, I was having some trouble trying to establish a call for heat because the switch light was indicating that the boiler should be on, but they weren't attempting to light. But it so happened that on the programmer you just had to set it to come on like 24 hours, and then the boiler went through its ignition sequence. So here we are putting it in 24-hour mode. I swapped over one of the PCBs. I found a spare PCB, display PCB, because this one came up with fault 19. And then after changing the spare PCB over, I didn't get the fault no longer on the model. So it's nice when you can fix units. So this was a main board 34, but I didn't have to change that one, nor the board on the right. This board here didn't need to be changed. It was just the display PCB that I changed, and that fault was solved. Just keeping an eye on my temperatures. Just a look inside the unit. So here, just topping up the water from the quick fill and just spraying down some more units. And give them a little brush down in case some of the holes are blocked. And then obviously dry down the unit and shake out as much water as possible. Or I'm shaking out as much of the water as possible. Sometimes there's all sorts get stuck in these. I hear stones stuck in them and so on. And then now I'm just trying to slot them back in their rightful place at the back. It can be a bit tricky at times to get them in place, especially if the insulation is falling down. There we go, that one's in. And then last but not least, we have dirt from the insulation is falling in, so just cleaning that off, getting the leads back on. Great, that's all back in. Just tuck the leads to one side. Ideally it's better to have the leads underneath the burner bar, so long as it's out of the line of the flame, that would do. Here we go, a little look from the top. And then here's the high and low adjustment. Just getting my bolts in. This one was all done, just had to connect the flame recognition, and then this unit was ready to go. Sometimes they're a bit fiddly, but it eventually went back on. There we go. Just making sure that's home. Yep, that's in. Gas back on. Okay, came across another unit. I believe it was a CXA, but it had 3 boards on it. An aqua board, an ignition board. On this particular model, what we were having, it wasn't lighting, but it lit, and I initially arrived on site to see if the boiler was operating. I tested it, and then the unit was actually operating. So what I did was cleaned it out, put it back together. When I turned it on again, it lit once and then it went out, and I thought something's not right here. So then I wanted to establish that there was a switch live. So I looked for my white wire here. As you can see over here, a white wire. I checked that to make sure I had my 240 volts, and I did. So then I moved on from there now, and then I looked on my pink wire to see if I had power on my aqua board, and then I did, and then I traced next from my pink wire over here to my white wire to see if I had 240 volts, and I believe I had 240 volts. So what I did is when the boiler wasn't attempted to light, I came to the conclusion that my ignition board on the left was damaged. So what I did is I swapped over my ignition board from a unit that was working, and then straight away the unit came on. So here we have it. I'm checking my switch live on my aqua board, and I've got the voltage I needed on it. And then on my aqua board, I'm checking my pink to ensure that the power is going to my ignition board, and I have power. And then I'm checking my white on my ignition board to ensure that it should be starting the ignition process, but it wasn't. The unit wasn't sparking and getting ready to light, so I swapped over the ignition PCB, and then it started working. So a new ignition board required. So here's a look at the 3 boards, the one on the left, the one in the center, and the one on the right. And here's the ignition board that needs replacing. At the end of the week, I decided to make some adjustments to my tool bag, add a few things on the back, a few things on the outside, such as silver tape and so on, and my electrical tape. Decided to put my LDF on the side and to carry my spray bottle on the side of the bag too. My Stiltsons, my gas tape. My gas tape's sort of there as well to just remind me to just check the gas pipe to make sure it's got tape on it and so on. Got a little small bag here as well, where I keep a few little small pieces. And then my first aid kit I carry just for me or for others, basically, because sometimes if you do get an injury, you want to have the necessary things on you. You don't have to go and run to your van. You want to have what you need. And this is my wife wearing my rucksack to see how heavy it is. But it wasn't that heavy. So ideally, you don't have a tool bag which is super heavy, but actually you don't have what you need in it, and you can just waste an hour a day going to and from your van getting things when you could spend that time doing something else. This is me wearing the bag. So I keep my screwdrivers here, swap them around. Do swap your tool bag around now and then, your tools, especially the ones you need more, the things you keep going to your van for. See if there's space in your tool bag for it, and if you've got something that you have in your tool bag that you do not really use, especially if it's heavy and it's taking up space, just relegate it back to your van. And my little ones were impressed with the bag upgrade, so it passed their approval. So I just having a look inside to make sure I can see what I need. I got my smoke bombs inside there, Stanley knife and so on, and I decided to put my printer in there as well for my analyzer. I need to make sure I'm carrying a cloth, so I've put a cloth in there. In my little zip bag, which I change around often, I put certain things. Put a new Loctite in there. I've got a light in there, my warning notice stickers. Although and then on the side I carry my bits for cleaning, my file and so on, and I've put the leak detection in there. I do need to get a new tool bag soon. I've been using that one for probably 8 years or so. Probably time to upgrade, and probably I may get the same Fat Max Stanley. And then then I have my worksheets that I need to print out I need to print out some new ones for this week. Let me know if you've been using the worksheets, how they're working out for you. Okay, thank you for joining me. Until next time, please leave comments in the section below. Bye bye bye.